All right. Looks like we are good to go. I'm gonna wait a few minutes just to let people come in. Oh, I forgot to send out the text, so you're gonna have to bear with me. I don't know why I do this all the time. Like at least 20% of the time, I forget to send out the text.
No,
Uh,
man. It's I'm right there with you. It's like the most routine things sometimes just disappear. I mean, I don't even know how you guys go live so much. I'm like a very calculated person. I'm like, it gives me anxiety thinking about going live so much, but you're killing it, man.
we just get used to it. Just get used to it. Just kind of in a mode, that consistency, and then being able to break up the sessions with Payne, have him do Thursday, me just focus on Monday.
That's dope.
That's always great. Just give me 1 minute and I'll be.
Yeah, take your time, man.
Uh, all right, here we go. If I don't send out the text, people forget, so I got to send out the text.
Yeah, I know how that goes.
I saw you have. I'm assuming your number is a community number.
Yeah, I have a community number. I was on what was it, Superphone for like 3 years until they introduced, in my opinion, their overpriced monthly membership.
Right.
And then they were trying to tax me like $350 a month or something like that. And I'm like, I don't use it that much, so I kind of just stepped away. Um, I mean, services like Lead Pages and all these other landing page companies have had the SMS for sign up for such a long time. When it comes to like text food to 4545, something stupid like that.
Right.
And I messed with that for a long time, and then just recently I had reached out to Community like a year ago maybe, and I got denied the first time around. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
And then they finally reached back out, and I hooked up the number and actually started promoting it just like a month or so ago. But I've had it for maybe 4 or 5 months now.
Nice.
It's
So
funny because the bank notification reminded me that I had. They're like, "You've been charged for community." I'm like, oh man, I need to start promoting that.
Right. No, it's text. I've been screaming at artists to use text marketing for the longest, and maybe that's something we can talk about during the sessions too. But all right, let's jump into this. Obviously, today we are blessed to have Adam Ivy join us. He joined an MEC session before. I wasn't able to host it, so this is my first time meeting and talking to him. Obviously, I've been following him for quite some time. He's got a lot of gems to share. So thank you for joining us, Adam. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me. There's a whole lot of people out there with shows and little podcasts and stuff, but you guys have a proven concept. You've been doing a lot of great things for the community for a long time. You obviously Payne, he's from Wisconsin, like I am. So you got to connect with the people that are bringing value. So I appreciate you having me on again.
Right. Nah, I mean, it goes to show that, you don't have to be in LA or New York, to make some real positive moves, to have a career in the music industry. So you guys are a testament to that, because Payne still lives in Wisconsin. You're down in Orlando, doing your thing. But let's just first, before we jump in and start venting about how artists are doing everything wrong, let's just talk about your background and why people should even care to listen to you, essentially. But where did you start off, and then how did you get into music, and then just a quick story.
I'll try to make it quick. Due to my upbringing and my mom instilling talking over people and being very long-winded, I'll try to make this concise. So I'm 35 years old. I'm not like a spring chicken. I didn't even start making music till I was 21, and it kind of stumbled in a very manifest destiny type way. I graduated high school instantly, like within 5 days of graduation, started working at a wood window factory, where I went from summer help to kind of a higher position. In less than 3 years, I was like a lead person and a union steward. I've always just been very hungry to work my way up, not only for the financial reward, but just to kind of see how much I could do with my own vision, right? I was told in high school that I had a bad GPA, that I should pursue comedy by my guidance counselor. True story. Shout out to Mrs. Tokarts. But, you know, I was working at the wood window factory and I'd maxed out. And one day I remember this guy named Brian Augustine was an older gentleman who had worked for the company about 20 years. And we were having a conversation. And he said, Adam, it must feel pretty damn surreal, huh? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're like topped out and I think I was 20 at the time. He's like, and you're like 20, 21. And that scared the crap out of me. I was like, I need to get out of here if this old man is telling me that I topped out in like 3 years, right? So I left that company, and in a weird kind of just crossing of paths moment, one of my best friends had a big house, and like a lot of guys in their 20s, they rent out rooms to coworkers and friends and, you know, friends of friends. And I was over there and I bumped into this new roommate named Zach, and he was like the only big name DJ in the little, you know, community that I grew up in. Anyway, he was making beats downstairs, literally just heated up pizza rolls. This is like how bachelor the situation was. He's like, yeah, I'm just working on some beats if you want to come see what I'm doing. I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about. I fell in love with it instantly. You know, fast forward, you know, maybe 6 months, I sold a motorcycle that I had, scraped together every bit of money that I had, and just started making beats. And Reason 2.5 with like the crappiest setup that you could ever imagine possible. And then I realized that like I needed to get outside of this box, out of this comfort zone. So I moved down to Florida, 2007, just worked day jobs like anybody else trying to do music. And in 2009, I lost my job that I thought I had a little bit of, what do you want to call, a little bit of stability in. And I'd already been making a little bit of money with my music. The way that the company got rid of a bunch of people is they fired like probably a dozen people to avoid paying them unemployment. And so I didn't get any unemployment. And so it was like hustle mode activated. I'm like, I need to stay, I don't want to be homeless and I don't want to lose my car. Those were my like 2 goals. So I started doing every hustle job possible. I was doing all these graphic design jobs for 6 different clubs here in Orlando, Friday and Saturday nights. And yeah, it was insane. And so what that taught me is not only the communication style that worked very well to get people to say yes and bring me in and give me a chance, but at the same time, I learned through the club promoters and these event coordinators, like how they were marketing to their audience. And then I started kind of taking influence on some of those things and promoting my music in a similar way. I'd have all these templates. And so I'd like make my own template. It wasn't like super club flyery, but better. I mean, this is early days of Photoshop for me, but, I was learning, color schemes and aesthetic and fonts and stuff like that. And so I started selling beats, and all of a sudden $500 a month went to $1,500 a month, went to $3,500 a month. And then I found myself between 2010 and 2011 making $111,728. And I say that because I was roommates with that guy named Zach, who I told you about. Shout out to Bill. And I told him, I'm like, yeah, I made $112,000 from beats in the last 12 months. He's like, no, you didn't. You showed me your PayPal statement. It was 111 something. I'm like, okay, you're right. He was like really keeping me on the up and up. But
and the way you were selling beats initially, what platform were you using? Or
man, back in the day on MySpace.
Oh, MySpace. Okay.
MySpace transitioned to a SoundCloud page for a limited amount of time. And then I moved all of my efforts to not only direct sales through the networking side of things, but then SoundClick. Went to SoundClick. Then I had my own platform for a little while with like a producer team called myinstrumentals.com. Shout out to Cloak, Marka, Isaac, a couple other people. But, we were selling music there as like a producer team. And then, I'm trying to keep this all concise here, but in 2011, just messing around, I made a parody video called Red and Yellow. It was like a McDonald's parody of Wiz Khalifa's Black and Yellow. It went viral. I got a bunch of phone calls from nationally syndicated radio shows. They featured it on a bunch of different blogs and websites and whatnot. And so early 2011, all of a sudden, unexpectedly, I received a ton of calls, a ton of emails, messages through Facebook and everywhere else about these companies wanting me to come in as their like creative director. They kept calling me the viral video kid, right? So I'd show up to Skype calls similar to this, and I would have a nice suit coat on, and it was probably oversized because I didn't know how to dress back then, but I tried to look professional. And then this is who I am, right? So I spoke like this. I wasn't the guy in the parody video. That was just kind of a character I was playing. And all of a sudden I found myself almost 10 years in the corporate marketing realm. I had experience in the corporate marketing side of things before, building WordPress pages, doing copywriting and whatnot. But all of a sudden I found myself in this world of being paid, in my opinion at the time, very well for being an idea guy. And then it was like a boot in the ass, crash course in corporate marketing when you go in and all of a sudden you assimilate into a team. And then I go from being the creative director and this creative strategist, marketing manager, marketing director, media director, all the way up to executive level marketing for some Fortune 1000, Fortune 500 companies, including government contractors and stuff. And I'm finding myself like, this is freaking weird because I'm still doing my music and I'm still making a decent amount of money in the music realm in these corporate. I mean, I don't need to share all the financial details, but these corporations offering hefty, amounts for 3-month marketing contracts where you're working from home 20 hours, just doing, different strategies and going through and essentially trying to find holes in their bucket from a third party perspective, kind of as a consultancy. But then I started merging all of that into my DIY bedroom producer stuff, started making more money, having to work less, making connections way easier, and understanding the psychology behind marketing and how communication is so freaking important. It doesn't matter how cool your logo is if you don't know how to communicate with people. And here we are today teaching what I've been doing for the last 10 years. Also, a little part that I left out is I had hearing loss a few years ago to where I didn't think I was going to be able to do music anymore. And that's really, if any of you guys watching see my YouTube content, that's why I started my YouTube content. I figured, well, I can't do this music stuff anymore. Might as well share all the secret sauce because I had 20% hearing in my left ear. So 80% hearing loss. I thought I was going to go, I was legally deaf. Wow. But luckily it's back up to about 80%, 85%. I had calcification in my eustachian tube. From a ruptured eardrum, from multiple sinus and ear infections within a short period of time. So painful. When I go to sleep at night, we have like rain sounds going so the dog doesn't freak out about every little, creak and crack in the house. And I can't hear the rain noise out of my left ear at all. So
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's really interesting, man.
Nah, I think, a similar thread kind of rings through a lot of the stories that we hear, about people that are in music or just entrepreneurs in general, just kind of like that flexibility, that willingness to like seize on opportunities that arise and be able to make quick pivots, in order to kind of continue to grow and learn. Dope. So let's jump into a few different random topics. One, I think I told you before we jumped on here, I'm always jealous of your backdrops and the quality of your videos. Why do you feel, I mean, this is probably an obvious question, but you may have a different answer to it, but why do you feel like that quality is so important? And how did you get to a point where, because I'm sure your first video didn't look like the video you just put out the other day. Like, right. Talk to us about that process.
So I'm just like I mentioned with the Wood Window Factory story earlier, it's like I'm always hungry for learning about how I can go to the next level, right? Everything from the audio quality on YouTube videos is being more important than the video quality and the lighting and all these different things. And not to mention, I think I have a slight unfair advantage because going into the corporate world and seeing some of the commercial sets, seeing some of these DIY guys who I'd go along with, and I'm like, wow. And I'd ask so many questions. I'm like a little kid. Like, what are you using? How does that work? Can I see it? Can I hold it? Could you come over and I'll pay you for your time to help me? Like, these are the things I've always been super, excited about, tech and gear and stuff, right? When it comes to the background that you see here, I am a firm believer in perception, right? If you're on Netflix, back in the day when the teacher would wheel in the TV into the classroom and you were watching something, if the person looked interesting, if the video looked interesting, it's more captivating, right? You hit those emotional triggers of like, oh, wow, I don't care if someone's looking at the rock wall or if they're looking at the diffuser, the neon light or what I'm wearing, or like, as long as they're paying attention to the video it brings them in versus if you were watching me right now in front of just a blank wall. Even your background is interesting. You have the blue wall, you have the sign, you know, you have the white trim. It's more interesting than just a ring light, nothing in the background, a talking head. Because let's face it, I'm not Steve Jobs. I can't pull off a talking head Apple commercial, you know. And so another reason, though, my primary reason why everything looks the way it does is when I'm in this room and the camera's not on. This is where I work out of. This is what I do full time. I have a team that comes over. I have 4 employees. Like, I need to be inspired by the space that I'm in. So even when I'm not, I work out of my house. I converted a living room into my now studio space. I'm still, you know, in the process of, putting up some acoustic panels and stuff, and just in case anybody hears a little bit of reverb. But the quality of my message, I feel, needs to match the quality of how I deliver that message. So I want to always be a true practitioner. If I get your attention and everybody else in the industry, I don't care who you are, says Adam Ivy is the king of that category, it's going to be for a reason. And then as soon as people start catching up, which they always try to, then you elevate again. Then I'm not afraid to invest my money back into the business. I'm never afraid of doing any of that. And that's one thing I think I've always, and don't always do that when you're first getting started. I ran up a lot of credit cards at a young age. I was very freaking stupid, but I've always been hungry and hungry not only to learn from my mistakes, but hungry to make it better. You know, one of my goals is to be able to have a series on Netflix or even PBS for that matter. And I'm not going to get there with an iPhone video. And I'm cognizant of that. So I want my stuff to kind of be ahead of its time as far as the quality of the video, the messaging, the look. And I also, one of the things I'm trying to inspire people that are watching me. I mean, you can go watch my old YouTube videos. I don't take those down, back from 2009, 2010, where I was shooting on a point and shoot Kodak Easy Share camera in a, 4:3 aspect ratio, all grainy. I wasn't confident on camera. I didn't know what I was doing. It sounded like crap, looked like crap. But being able to provide that origin story is so important. And that's what, I tell artists and producers that all the time, is if you just go and spend all your money on, camera crews and stuff to look like you've already made it, you have no documentary. Right. Every documentary I've ever watched is an origin story. You need to start with what you have until what you have pays for what you want, and then repeat. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I agree 100%. That was one of the beautiful things when I was running the label. We were going strong for like 7-8 years, and like being able to click back through Facebook to like the very first post and to see kind of like how things evolved over time. And I think it's also important for fans to see that, right? Like, you didn't just start out with that beautiful studio, beautiful camera, but you got to start. And you have to just dedicate yourself to consistently improving over time. So my video doesn't look that great, but it looks better than it did, 2 years ago. And also like, you get better just in terms of talking and using less non-words and things like that. I'm still not perfect, but I'm better than I was 2 years ago. So
that growth is what it's all about, man. It's not about being where you think you need to be at the end of the road, because there's no end of the road, right? Being an entrepreneur, chasing this stuff, doing what you guys are doing, there's no top rung of the ladder. You're going to continue to climb until you die, or you could stop or go back down the ladder, but there's no top of the ladder, right? There's no, you made it and you never have to do anything again. It's, I guess depending on what your definition of success and stuff looks like. If you're hungry, though, like me, I'm a busybody, right? Even when I'm lazy, I'm a busybody. So, your video looks fantastic. I'm sure in a few years it's going to look even, next level, because you've been leveling up and you've been using what you've learned over the years to really ramp up. You guys have the technology. Think about it. 10 years ago, it'd be super hard to patch in like this. And now we're doing it, which is super dope.
Right. Well, it's your videos I look up to in terms of quality, and Indiepreneur. I know Circa and them. They're just like you in terms of like really kind of getting into the details and figuring stuff out from an audio and visual perspective. So dope. All right, cool. So how do you obviously, marketing guy, people are gonna hit you up and be like, "Hey, I want to promote my music. Like, how do I get more? Like, how do you even respond to that question? Because that's like the number one question typically. It's like, how do I how do I get more fans, or how do I get my music out there? Like, where do you start with an answer to that question?
You know, I always boil everything marketing down to like 4 basic things. I did a YouTube video on this recently, and it's traffic, awareness, conversations, conversions, right? You need the traffic. You need to have the brand awareness of who you are, why people should care. Then you have the conversations with strangers, the followers that you can then convert over to fans, convert to financial resources, convert to, you know, ticket sales and all that stuff. So where I really look at most people when they reach out to me is what their consistency looks like and what their brand looks like. Because if you're going on Instagram and you have 2 posts, one with your cat, one, you know, just a album art or something that you put together in Photoshop or Canva or something, and then you spend all your time marketing by DMing people, spamming people, going into comment sections saying like, hey, I'm a new artist, I have no support, I'd love some support. Like, the messaging isn't horrible, but you're literally, and I talk about this all the time, so hopefully I don't sound like a broken record, but it's like you're promoting a store in the mall that doesn't have anything on the shelves. You literally need to build not only the origin story, but I don't know what kind of, you know, series you watch on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu, but if I were to watch an episode of The Walking Dead and I had no idea that they were going to come out with a second episode, let alone second season, just second episode, there was no, you know, next week, Sunday, like nothing. I don't know how invested I would become in that one series, not knowing if anything else was going to come out. So, you know, when you discover new artists, whether regardless of genre, you instantly, if you really dig what they put out, you're going to go try to find more about them, what they're interested in, where they live, you know, what their lifestyle looks like, if they have other music. And then we dissect people and become true fans that way. So when it comes to being any creative venture, I don't care if you're trying to start a label, if you want to be a YouTuber, a fitness influencer, you have to understand who you are, what your brand aesthetic is going to look like, what your narrative is. And then you take that narrative and figure out the vehicle in which you're going to deliver it to a target audience. You know, the 3 pillars to any major sustainable brand is knowing who you are, having ultimate confidence in that, knowing who you are to strangers, and knowing where those strangers are. I'm not, you know, obviously talking about where they live on the street or anything, but you know, where they are on the internet, because either you can buy your way in with a whole lot of ads, or you can find the traffic and step in front of it. Because unless you're doing some like kazoo polka trap hybrid that nobody wants to hear, let alone it doesn't exist, there's traffic. There's somebody that you're a derivative of, close enough to follow, you know, their already established fan base. So definitely have to start with that brand aesthetic and also knowing why you're doing it, because if you're just doing it to be cool and you really don't have a passion for it, it's never going to work, no matter how many hours you put into making cool photos for Instagram.
Right. Not it's always a tough. I'm not. Damn. Are you hearing echo?
I heard a little bit of echo. You were muffled for a second.
Hold on. Let me see if this works. Let me put some headphones on. This usually doesn't. I usually don't need my headphones, but we'll see.
We're just too clean.
No, I think your awesome setup is just stomping on.
I'm going through the laptop microphone. I wasn't trying to be too fancy.
All right. Let me see if this works.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, connected.
Cool. All right. So no, that's always I mean, I understand why artists ask it, but asking that question really lets me know where you're at in your career if you're asking that question. And it's just hard to, it's not like I can give you a 2-sentence response. I mean, this is like a class. Like you're asking me for a whole marketing class in one question, right, essentially.
Yeah, and everybody's journey is different. That's the biggest issue, is somebody like, how do I, like, one of the things I get like about 300 to 400 DMs a day on average. I mean, there's slow days, but usually people are like, hey, can you repost me? I'm like, that won't do anything. I could literally hype you up, and I know my numbers. I'm going to deliver them to nothing. I'm going to lose trust in them. It's going to damage my word, you know, my buddy system with my followers. And then, like, you have nothing else to deliver them, even if your single is super hot and you have 5 posts on Instagram, or send them over to YouTube. You have 1 video from 4 years ago that you're still trying to promote for whatever reason. Like, everybody's journey is different. Doesn't matter if you have the same type of music as Logic, you're not Logic. Doesn't matter if you have the same type of music as Drake, you're not Drake. We have to figure out who you are and give, you know, strangers, give a following a reason to look at you differently than those people, because obviously nobody wants to be a direct clone of anyone either.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so much into it when you're talking about, having quality music, having a compelling story, having that consistency that you talked about, a little earlier. It's just there's so much. But let's just talk about Instagram in particular, because I've seen you make some posts before about the algorithm. The algorithm changes from time to time, our reach changes from time to time. How do you approach Instagram and keep your consistent growth on that platform?
You have to look at the metrics and the analytics, right? I mean, the algorithm changes so fast. It could be said that there is no algorithm because it's constantly learning, right? An algorithm suggests that it's the same for a long time, when in reality, it could be shifting week to week. So what you need to do is you need to have something consistent that you feel good about, that you can stay up on, that resonates with your target audience and is content for them, not you. But then also understand that every 2 or 3 months, you got to do a self audit and say, what do I need to do now? Because it's boring to them. I mean, how many, seasons of a show can a network run before it gets boring, before they have to introduce a new storyline, before they have to change the setting? And the same goes for YouTube. The same go, and that's another reason that I changed my set in here and I changed the way it looks, because I mean, I did 80 videos or something in my last studio before I bought a house. I had a rental house. And I know that people always want something moving. They want the needle moving forward. Because if I do my job correctly on YouTube, this is the screwed up thing. If I do my job correctly and very, very well, people stop watching my videos because I taught them what they needed, and then they don't need me anymore. So you need to keep the content entertaining, educational, inspiring, whatever, be able to hit those emotional triggers to get them to be attached to you, not just what's coming out of your mouth or some free PDF at my landing page, like 5 free beats. Why do they want that from you? Right. So, getting back to your original question, it's the algorithm that should keep you hungry, not keep you down and feeling like it's holding you back. It's the constant journey into finding content that really resonates without turning into a meme page where people just come for a few laughs, unless that's what you're trying to do. But I see a lot of people chasing the low-hanging fruit. They're trying to be Gary Vee. They're trying to be the next meme page. And then they're wondering why nobody clicks on their music or their new video, because they don't give a shit about you. They care about the funny, entertaining stuff that you're sharing that has nothing to do with you. So, the Instagram algorithm is all about standing out from the crowd, being able to target people through hashtags and through geotags and through conversations with accounts and acts and whatnot. But you have to change. You have to continuously be shifting your focus and trying new things, because as a marketer, we're trying to always break things, right? As a marketer, we ruin every new feature that ever comes out on a platform. Stories, awesome. How do we exploit stories to market our stuff or build our brand? Okay, we can't do that anymore because they're stopping us from doing that. Oh, IGTV, let's try that. Oh, TikTok, it's constantly you're chasing the newest features, exploit the hell out of them while they work. I mean, think about it this way. Years ago, hashtags were like a new thing, or like way back in the day, follow for follow on Twitter. Oh, that's secret. And now it doesn't work because it's all like super played out, and like it's a horrible strategy now. But at first, we just squeeze every ounce out of ounce of juice out of that orange until we got to throw it to the side and get to a new fruit,
Right. No, so I'm always telling artists, like, one of the things to be effective on social media is you have to consistently educate yourselves on how these platforms are changing, so you can take advantage first when a new feature pops up. Because obviously, if Facebook or Instagram or whoever announces a new feature, that's important to them. They want feedback on that feature. So
100%. They reward accounts. In fact, speaking of Instagram, they just announced that they're going to be releasing Instagram Reels to a select beta group, as always, and then to the public to go toe to toe with TikTok. So I promise you, if you guys are watching this right now and you really latch on to Instagram Reels, the second it's available to you, they're going to be sharing your stuff like pedal to the metal, because they're not going to have a lot of content yet, because people are going to be slow to integrate that feature, but they're also going to want to blow up. So they're going to be showing the same goes for stories or IGTV. If you jumped in early, if you were an early adopter, and that's the thing, so many people are afraid of change. It's uncomfortable. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know how to use the features. So it feels clunky. And when something feels clunky, there's a little bit of resistance there. They stop doing it and go back to what they're used to. And then they complain that it's not working. So if you embrace, just like you said, if you embrace those new features as soon as you get your hands on them, you don't have to be good. You're only going to become good by practicing it and using them. But Instagram, every platform actually, they reward the hell out of people that use the new feature. I mean, even Twitter, for example, with the audio notes thing. I mean, you show up on a whole lot more feeds when you're using something that they're trying to build brand awareness around. Because like I said, it's traffic, awareness, conversations, conversions.
Yeah, no, you have to stay educated on these changes. And there's various websites that, tech websites and things like that that kind of keep us posted on what's happening in with these platforms. TikTok, are you on TikTok? What has been your experience on TikTok? Obviously, there's people that have been quite successful very fast.
Yeah.
So what has your experience been like so far?
So TikTok, I'm like a curmudgeoned old man with it because I still think it's very gimmicky. I'm not at all downplaying the power of TikTok, but this is the toxic mindset that's introduced to a whole lot of early on creators is, oh, this guy went viral. Oh, one of my videos hit 1 million. And then for the rest of their career, they're chasing that high. They're chasing that million. And so if they get 30,000, they're like, oh, I'm a failure. Like nobody gives a shit about this stuff. And so the other issue with TikTok is it's so based off virality and highly shareable content that a lot of artists, unless they're putting out their own original music, connecting with a true fan base, nobody really cares about you as a creator on TikTok. They care about that 15 seconds. Are they going to get it back? Are they going to go on to the next thing? It's so like, I watch TikToks all the time. I watch TikToks with my fiance. I don't know, aside from like a handful of people, I don't know their username. It's just, oh, that one guy that did that one thing with his, oh, that's hilarious.
Right.
So unless you have a dance challenge, which even that's getting played out because the influencers who really have an influence are exploiting the hell out of that as far as getting paid. It's hard to build a sustainable right now with the feature set that we have right now. They just introduced ads and stuff, but that's a whole different beast. But TikTok is really hard to influence those people onto anything else. And if you're not influential, then you're not an influencer. If you can't influence your following on one to go to another, then it's a dead end. It's a dead end. If I can't get my Instagram followers to go to YouTube or my YouTube followers to sign up for an email list or my email list to go to TikTok, and then like there needs to be connections in that routing. And there needs to be pinpoints that go from A to B to C. And TikTok right now is making it very hard. I mean, you can't even put certain information or phone numbers up on the screen. You have to kind of use icons and emojis and stuff to get away with that because they really, 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 like any platform, really want to keep you on that platform. So it's going to be interesting when Instagram opens their feature setup with the reels to see how they adjust from one to the other, because that always happens. I mean, it took less than 6 months for Instagram to surpass Snapchat's total user base with Instagram stories when they launched. And now who knows what's going to happen with Snapchat.
Yeah, no, I think you're right 100%. And I think that's also the flaw with artists and producers just like chasing streams, right? Like they're chasing stream. I want to get my stream. I want to get on this playlist. Like, and you're totally overlooking like fans, right? Because there's a lot of music that plays, just like you said, that there's a lot of TikToks that you watch and you have no idea what the username is. The same on Spotify. There's a lot of music being listened to and you have no idea what artist that is. So it's kind of the same thing.
Absolutely. I mean, playlisting, the feature sets. I mean, people don't realize there's like stories on Spotify. Nobody uses them, but there's like so many features that people can use on Spotify to really connect with their fan base and get those saves that then correlate to Instagram followers and get a conversation going. Again, traffic awareness, conversations, conversions. If there's something broken in that chain where you can't have a conversation, and you've been an advocate for a long time about text, marketing, right? SMS marketing. So if you can have a direct lifeline, a direct, communication path to your end user, to the follower that you can then convert to a fan that then becomes an evangelist for what you're doing. That, I mean, you only need like a couple hundred people to make a very good income when they're like freaking super fans of yours. I'm not going back to the Kevin Kelly dissertation about the, 1,000 true fans, because I think that if anybody stops at 1,000 true fans, they're really selling themselves short. But I mean, the whole premise of that is you really don't need that many people to have a comfortable or equivalent income to a decent day job, right?
Right. So let's talk about text marketing. Damn, I'm getting that feedback again. I don't know what's going on.
I'll turn mine down a little bit. Maybe you're picking up on my microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be better.
So yeah, I don't know if that's better actually.
I turned it down. I can barely hear you, so I know you're not picking back up.
That's all good. Let's talk about text marketing. Obviously, that I've been a huge fan of text marketing. I've been telling artists that they need to get that data, that direct access. And you've recently started using community. Like, what has been your approach and experience thus far? Using text marketing.
So I was actually a proponent against text marketing, not like vocally, but I was just looking at it for a while. And I still believe wholeheartedly that as more and more people pick up on text marketing, there will be a feature that AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, all of these different providers offer, maybe another $5 a month. You can turn off any text marketing because it's going to become so prevalent to where people are just it's just gonna be like the spam calls that we receive day in and day out from somebody wanting to buy your house when you're renting an apartment, somebody offering you a free windshield or solar services, or trying to get your number from the the fake IRS. I think that text marketing now is kind of in it's not even the golden era quite yet because it's so early on. This is the thing that really makes or breaks your text marketing though, or your email marketing or whatever. It's communication style. I've been doing text marketing again. I did it a few years ago, but I'm doing it again now for the past 2 months. And I haven't asked anybody once for anything. There's no asks. It's all conversation. It's all building those actual relationships so that when I do have something to say, they listen, but it's not every message. It's not, hey, Travis, I saw that you signed up for my, text message community. Check out my new YouTube video. Like, that's not why they're trying to connect with you. I'm not showing up in your phone so you can spam me. I'm showing up because I trust you enough, and I can't, in my opinion, it's really, really detrimental to try to abuse that trust that you're following, that are turning into fans kind of on the teeter-totter with like, is this person legit? Will this person respond to me? Are they going to try to sell me on something, like what their motive is? Because we live in a very cynical, and it's healthy to be a little bit skeptical with all the BS that's floating around. But when a person is 2 clicks past, lifelong career cynic, it becomes a challenge to find anybody that actually cares and anybody that actually wants to have a real, conversation. I'm not saying that I'm going to be, turning my text community into the godfather of my firstborn child, but at the same time, I have students and people that have connected with me on Instagram and even Facebook and YouTube that I would consider buddies, like in my friend circle. You know what I mean? A couple of my best friends I've never met in real life. They're coming to my wedding in November. So the internet works in mysterious ways, and you never know who you're talking to. Somebody that texts you, and you probably get this quite a bit, somebody that texts you and just says, what's up? And you have a little 2-second conversation with them, might be the music supervisor for Discovery Networks, might be, some upcoming rapper that's using his legal name and you don't know who it is. So it's like, you can't disintegrate those relationships before they're established. And I mean, I've seen that time and time again, especially in the DMs over on Instagram, where big acts, like big acts message me and they're like, yo, keep doing what you're doing. I watch your videos. I can't shout you out based on what I do, but I just want to let you know that you're doing good for the community, which obviously plays into feeling fulfilled in what I'm doing. But you need to have real conversations before you go into the sale. Think of it this way. If you go to a car dealership on a hot day and Kevin comes out of the dealership with 2 cold waters, and he's like, hey, let's go stand over here where there's some shade. Can I get you anything? Do you want to come inside? That's going to go a lot further, even if you're not actually interested in buying a car, than having to go in after looking at the lot for 30 minutes. And Kevin's like, oh, hell no, I'm not. I saw you guys walking out there, but I wasn't going to come out there. It's too hot today. Like, it's or the second that they walk up to you, they say, hey, it's 2019 Accord. Can we get you approved for some financing today? There's like, it's all in the communication steps in any business that are really going to make or break you.
Right. No, so I think you're right in the sense of, like, a lot of people are going to fuck up when it comes to text marketing. A lot of people, and they're going to mess it up for a lot of other people because that is going to become kind of like the perception of text marketing. I'm not giving you my number because I know what you're going to do, because I gave it to the last person. I gave it to the last person and he started sending me these texts. It was crazy. And I had to block them, you know. So I think it's important to understand how to use it, how to not abuse it, and how to develop that trust, right? So, you know, the MEC, we've been using text marketing for a minute. As you see the numbers below, you know, we say text MEC to our number 844-206-7800 to get an alert every time we go live. That's all it is. Like, if you need a reminder when we go live for our free sessions, like, we don't bombard you with salesy stuff. Like, I told you what we were going to do and we live up to it, you know.
100%.
So if you opt into it, you know what you're opting in, and you can always opt out. So I think you just have to be very careful. It's very powerful, you know, because 99% of texts are opened, you know, as opposed to, you know, emails and other forms of communication. So anyway, I do want to open it up for some questions from the audience. The only drawback from our new partnership with BeatStars is before we were on Zoom and we were able to like bring people on on camera. And I guess I got to figure out how we can still make that happen using StreamYard. But go ahead and ask your questions in the comment, whether you're watching on Periscope or Twitch or YouTube or Facebook. We see all your comments. So we won't be able to answer all of your questions, but I definitely want to get to some audience questions. So go ahead and put questions in the comments, and then we'll answer a few. And while people are typing their question, one thing I like about some of your posts is you are very on it when it comes to like time management and talking to artists about wasting time. And, you know, can you talk a little bit about how important that is, that time management skill, and just realizing you have more time than you probably think you do?
Sure. So, I mean, I'll go about it this way. I want to start by prefacing that I'm not the greatest at time management. I am no guru at it, but I see so many people asking ridiculously basic questions that they could just try, but they hold themselves back with the thought that they need somebody to finish the Mortal Kombat game for them before they're willing to start fighting themselves. It's so like, it doesn't work that way. You have to jump in and start scheduling the things that you have no idea during the day how long they take you. Obviously, finite things, you know, daily life routines, like how long it takes you to get to work within, you know, 10 minutes, give or take, how long the workday takes, how long it takes to get back from work. You know, things like scheduling, having dinner with your significant other, or how long you're going to be spending on making beats that day. You know, everything down, like literally, I'm going to show you what I use. I literally have this, that I use this. So when I jump on, and I'm not going to make it, I mean, it's literally, if it focuses there, it's a $15 timer from Amazon. And so what I do is, if I'm responding to students in the morning, in Slack, if I'm over on, you know, the Google Docs side, writing a script or an outline for a video, or responding to emails, I literally have it in my calendar, in my phone, wherever that is, like 30 minutes emails, 15 minutes hashtag research. You know, I do the majority of all my Instagram posts are scheduled on Sundays. You know, I use Appy, APPHI. There's a bunch of different ones. I'm not telling you that it's the best. There's Later, and, you know, there's a bunch of different ones, right? So having efficiencies in your business is going to allow you to have the time to take on new things, new ventures, new experiments, be able to create that new content that you insist you have no time doing. People in my comment section spend more time writing a dissertation on why they don't have the time than it would take them to actually do what I'm telling them to do. I have a very, very basic exercise in my 20 Days of Focus challenge called the 5x5. It's researching 5 highly targeted hashtags, go into those hashtags, comment, like, engage with 5 posts on each that you actually enjoy, not just anything that you see. Go till something catches your eye, engage with it with an actual thought out comment. And do that every day, 5x5, 25 total interactions. And without being too vulgar, because I'm not trying to take it there, but I do that half the time during the day when I'm taking a shit. Like, you're on the toilet, you're heating up oatmeal. You're doing, not at the same time, but you're doing things like that on a day-to-day basis, where when I let my dog outside and she has to go potty, I'm outside for 2 or 3 minutes. If I'm on my phone, I could either be scrolling through Instagram, I could be doing stuff that's not moving me forward, or I could be on Instagram or my emails doing something that might not be fun, but also you have to embrace it. It's not like 8th grade biology homework, right? It's like building your brand. There's a whole lot of people that have lawnmowers, right? A lot of people that have lawnmowers, but there's very few people who have successful lawn mowing businesses. Right. It's a whole different mindset. You have to utilize your time and have a why and have a sense of urgency, because I know a lot of people that are watching this right now might be 17 to 28, and you think that all the time in the world is just at your fingertips and you'll get to it eventually, until you're 45, working at Perkins, mad at the world that your music never took off because you never actually did anything with it. It's like, I don't try to be an a-hole about any of this, right? I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be Gary Vee.
You gotta tell the truth, though. You have
to be real with people, because so many times you get the sugarcoating. Sugarcoating doesn't get you anywhere. Aside, the only thing the sugarcoat gets you is your competition ahead of you. Because if I tell you, no, you're doing a good job, you're doing enough, I never have to worry about you as my competition, ever. Right. So time management is super important, but it's also important to get enough sleep, eat right, get exercise, and then have allotted times. My fiance hated the fact that I had dinners scheduled when we first started dating. She hated it. She's like, oh, you have to pencil me in. I love her to death. We're getting married because she tolerated me long enough and understood that it was part of my business. But it's so easy to sit on the couch on a Saturday morning when you don't have to work, and you pour a popcorn bowl size bowl of cereal, and then you start watching American Pickers or, Aerial America, or a rerun of a Super Bowl highlight, reel on ESPN. And the next thing you know, you look at your watch or you look at the clock and it's 2:00. Right. You started doing that at 8:30 in the morning. Right. Like, I could have shot 5 videos for YouTube in that amount of time from scratch. Right. Like, if you are efficient, and just like I said earlier, with new functionality and stuff, things that you're not used to are always going to be clunky. They're always going to be clunky. At one point, walking for every one of us was clunky, but it takes that practice and repetition to become good at it, become second nature, just like copywriting. So many people overlook the importance of copywriting. And I'm not talking about copywriting your music is with the Library of Congress or you know what I mean? So it's like, you're not copywriting your music to protect it in the trademark office and doing all of that. You're writing copy, which is marketing context. Right. So, I think that people overlook the importance of communication stuff, and they overlook how much they can actually do in a short amount of time. I think it's called the Pomodoro method. So, a Pomodoro, I believe, is like a name for an old tomato timer. And so what I use my timer for is I'll set 10 minutes. I'm on emails. I'm not checking my phone. I'm not doing anything aside from email responses during those 10 minutes. I might glance up at the timer when I'm getting impatient, but when it goes off, I'm free. I can give myself a half an hour break, a 5-minute break, like whatever. You have to put in the work before you're rewarding yourself for the work you didn't put in.
Right. No, I agree with you 100%. That's why I asked the question. So we got a few questions. Let's see. Danny Neutral says, is a support group of just your local best friends enough to release a single with?
Do you want me to answer these? Like, just are we workshopping these? Because the answer, Danny, is no.
Okay, so feel free. I'll weigh in. You can respond first, and if I have anything to add, then I'll do so, and then we'll just get to the next question.
Sure. So in my opinion, the most natural progression to a successful single run is a 3 to 4 week period, to where I call it the pre-launch process. You send it off for distribution, and then you spend the next 3 weeks having very dialed in content that's around that single, why people should care, who you are, being able to share that message. And then that also gives you time to ramp up pre-saves or hyper follows or whatever the distributor is calling that, and also be able to go and submit that single to Spotify curated playlists, the editorial playlists, because the editorial playlist and the Spotify curated playlists need submission before it's live to the public, because those people get bombarded with so many submissions that it takes them a little while to get to. They don't want to report old news, no different than Channel 5, at 6 o'clock wants to report old news. They want that in the cycle before everybody else has heard it. Now, when it comes to AI playlists like Release Radar, Discover Weekly. That's all algorithmic playlists, and then listener playlists, which you and I could have a bunch of playlists. And then obviously we kind of have to wait until that goes live, unless you send us like a private SoundCloud link. But you need to ramp up excitement and momentum behind your release. Otherwise, nobody's going to care. I know that we listen to our music a million times in the mixing process, the recording process, and a lot of times we're almost burnt out from our own single before the rest of the world gets to hear it. But we have to keep in mind that the rest of the world needs to hear this. It's brand new. It's fresh. They've never heard it. Therefore, it takes 3 or 4 weeks to kind of, I'm not saying bombard them with cover art for 3 weeks. Do not take it like that. But every few days, do something that relates to the behind the scenes of the making, the story behind it, maybe, a small snippet of what's to come. If you have a video that's directly dropping the same day as your single, a group of friends, depending, it doesn't even matter how big that group of friends is. It could be, your household of 5. It could be a fraternity of maybe 100. You might as well not even release it. Just give them burnt CDs, because like it's not going to really do much aside from that unless you have people helping you push it, kind of like a free PR machine. When other people are excited about what you're doing, that's kind of putting fuel on the fire. And then if you want to run paid ads and stuff, but organic is the way to go until you have your ideal target audience dialed in. But yeah, like your local best friends and stuff. I mean, Danny, if you're like 14 years old and you're trying to just kind of get your voice heard and you're trying to dial in your own style and stuff, and you want feedback from your friends and family, 100%, very cool. I think what you're doing is awesome. But if you want a larger audience and you want it to pick up a little bit more momentum, you have to get working. One of my favorite quotes is, you don't start digging a hole when you get thirsty. You have to start looking for that water, knowing that you're going to need it. So that's my side of the response.
So I'm obviously this question is not very long. I'm taking it to mean like, hey, I have some local best friends that are going to help me push my music. Is that enough? Or was he saying like these are the only people that are going to listen to my music? So my thing is like, I think 100, I think what you're saying is spot on. I think Adam, like, let's just say, 100 things that you should do before you release music. Like people that don't have as much experience, they might only know like 3 things to do. And what you said might be overwhelming for them, because like, damn, that means I'm going to have to wait until I learn those 100 things. It's like, no, go release the music, do your 3 things, but continue to learn. Right. And then the next time you release music, do 7 things, because you learned 4 more. Right. You don't need to wait if you feel comfortable and confident with your music, but know that the ultimate goal is to develop a system like Adam is talking about, so that you can maximize everything that you put out.
100%. Don't worry about how many jelly beans are going to fit in the jar. Just keep putting one in at a time, and eventually it'll fill up. And that just kind of correlates with your skill sets and your understanding of the systems, because without systems and organization and those efficiencies, it's an uphill battle, but you don't get better at it without going for it and kind of learning as you go.
For sure. Appreciate the question, Danny. We'll take another couple questions and then we'll wrap it up. Cloud9 Music says, Adam, if you could go back in time, what's one piece of advice you would have told yourself when you first started?
Oh, that's a damn good question, Cloud9 Music. Shout out to Cloud9 Music. I don't want to answer that. Next question. I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. When I first got started, I didn't understand what marketing was. There were times that I could have really ramped things up very early on, but I lacked confidence that anybody cared. If I could go back to those days, my early 20s, knowing what I know now, I'd be doing what we just preached to Danny. I would be going for it a lot more. I would be running much faster, knowing that when I stumbled and fell, inevitably that I'd be learning more from those lessons. And it wouldn't have taken me so long to start selling music. I think that really understanding the importance of relationship building, and also not buying into your own ego as much. There was a time where, I remember the first month I ever cleared $10,000. I thought I was the freaking man. I went and bought a Rolex, and then the next 2 months I had slow months, had to sell the Rolex. Like the stupid shit you do as a kid. that I would go back and just be like, I need to start investing this. There's a company called Tesla. Let me put the money in that. I mean, different things. I mean, if we could all go back, I think we'd all be much more successful than we are today. But as far as the music production thing, I think I would have jumped into Logic from Reason a little bit earlier on. I would have spent less time talking smack about people that were cracking VSTs, and I would have just minded my own business and focused on my own marketing. I was wrapped up in that for a little while back in the SoundClick days. And yeah, I'll just be more mature about how I was, kind of presenting myself to the world, and just focus on my own marketing and opportunities that I had. That, one prime example here, I don't really share this too much, but an artist, a very successful artist that I was trying to work with, I was working with the A&R directly with them, is a cannabis connoisseur, which I don't give a two, what's if you smoke weed. I don't smoke weed, but I have no problem with it, zero problem with it. But at the time, I was wet behind the ears from Wisconsin, growing up in a Catholic family, and I thought you were going to like hell if you smoked a little bit of weed. So I went on a rant on Facebook or Twitter talking about, like, if you spend more time bragging about the weed you're smoking. And anyway, let's just say the artist that I was going to hopefully work with quickly unfollowed me, and I never talked to them again. So there's things that you learn from just, certain opinions you hold on to, certain stupid kid mindsets that you think are the truth at a period in your life. And going back, I couldn't be more wrong about that, but it all worked out in the end. So, I guess we live and we learn.
Indeed, definitely. Let's see. There was a question about a checklist that Candy had. Do you have, actually, just a better question? What resources do you make available for artists? How can artists tap in with you? Let people know where to find you, what you have available. Let's just be salesy at the end.
No, so I don't have really anything to pitch. As far as paid, I do have a free challenge that you can go sign up for over at 20daysoffocus.com. That's 20 daysofocus.com. You can also go to marketyourmusic.com, which sends you directly to my YouTube channel, where I have over 100 or 150 different videos to help build your brand, get you started, get you going in the right direction. My YouTube stuff is really focused on beginners into like early stages of intermediate. And if you want to work with me directly, if you feel you're already at that intermediate stage, you have a little bit of momentum, but you just feel like you've plateaued a little bit, you can go to adamivymentorship.com, where you can apply for a free discovery call with either myself or my team, to see if you're even ready to go to that next step. Because, I don't bring anybody into the program that I don't think is ready. And I don't think that my skill set really aligns with what they're doing. I typically only work with maybe 8 to 10 people at a time, because it's that, it's not my full-time thing. So it's just, something I offer to people. And a lot of my students have, maybe 2 million subscribers on YouTube, or, a ton of people over on Instagram. They used to have a deal type of thing. And then we dial in strategies for them. But I think where you guys could really benefit from the most, absolutely free, is marketyourmusic.com, which is my YouTube channel, youtube.com/AdamIvy, or 20 Days of Focus Challenge.com, where you can get started there. I even have a free PDF over there, gives you a checklist, tells you exactly what to do. And you don't need to do anything as far as entering a credit card or anything like that. It's just, it's a fun challenge. And a lot of people have seen pretty transformative results from it, which has been very fulfilling in that side of things. So, yeah.
Is it, because I posted 20daysoffocus.com. Is it 20daysoffocus.challenge.com?
20daysoffocus.com.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 20 Days of Focus.
Okay.
You can tell how much I pitch my own stuff. Very rarely. I think it's 20daysoffocus.com. Yeah.
No,
thanks for calling me on that.
I think one of the things that you just mentioned is kind of a red flag sometimes, because like if there's a service that just accepts anybody at any level, like a lot of times that's a red flag.
Yeah.
For I work with a distribution company called Foundation, and I would say most of the artists that hit us up or that talk to me about it, I tell them, look, you're not ready. You're not really ready to work. Yeah. We can't do much for you right now. Here's what you should be doing. X, Y, and Z. So
yeah, man. One of the things, my team and I, like I said, I have 4 employees that all work for the team. They're all super creative individuals. They're like family to me at this point. When we get on discovery calls with people, or even the emails and the DMs, more times than not, to give you some numbers behind the scenes, anybody that's watching this, it's not common knowledge, but it's I don't care to share it. In the last 18 months, we've had over 6,000 people apply for calls. And like, we accept like less than 10 to get to the next level. And then, out of all the calls that I had last year, for example, I only invited in like 60%. So there's a whole lot of people that I'm just like, you know what, you're not ready. Or we might maneuver them into, like, my Sell Music Masterclass is open, once or twice a year if there's seats available in there, which I know that's kind of the funny joke. Like, if there's spots available, no, there are spots available because of server space. And I don't have the capacity to work with like 5,000 people at a time with what I'm doing. We'll move them into that. But honestly, we send out so many freaking emails to send people over to YouTube because it's so much easier working with students that are already familiar with your free YouTube content, who have already put in the time and effort. Not only that, is it also shows me that they're not going to embarrass me by bringing them into the program because they've already proven themselves in a certain regard, as far as putting in the work, because so many people are searching for magic pill solutions. I don't play that game. Like, if you want 100,000 streams on Spotify for $60, I'm not the guy that you come to. And so the mentorship program, the vast majority of my mentorship program students become peers and then become my friends. Some of them even have my cell phone number. We just, have conversations and chop it up. In fact, Andrew on my team was my student a year and a half ago. And now he's on salary. He's on my team helping other people move their needle forward in their music career. So two things you can't compromise in this game if you want a long career, and that's integrity in your character. And so I'm not going to be the guy that you're finding a bunch of videos and articles online saying I ripped anybody off, because I'm very selective with who I work with.
Yeah, and if you think about it, doing it any other way is such a short-term vision, because it's like, okay, let's say I have a service, I accept everybody, even if they're not ready, and they pay me, but they're not ready, so they didn't get the results that they wanted. Now, they're either bad-mouthing me or not giving me a quality testimonial. Yeah. And your reputation is going to go down the tube. So you might have got, the little upfront money, whatever, but your business long-term is going to suffer for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, to add to that, the individuals that I bring into the program, I'm working with them one-on-one for 12 weeks. That's 3 months. If you bring somebody in that's miserable, who has an ego, that's not coachable, that really doesn't believe in the process, is always pushing back on the structures and the different tasks, it's no different than signing up to go to the gym, hiring a personal trainer, and then arguing with them, not showing up, and then saying it's your fault that I'm not buff. Like, you have to be very selective with who you work with, because this is like a big truth bomb. Not everybody is made to be successful in the music industry, no different than not everybody's made to be an executive at a company. There's number ones, there's a whole lot of number twos, there's a whole lot of number 10s. And if you understand that you're that, then you can embrace it and be that. But so many people just want that fame and fortune. They want the shine without putting the work in for it. And I have zero tolerance for that, especially because, like I said, it's not my full-time thing.
Right. Dope, man. Well, I appreciate you joining us. I should have reached out sooner, because I think when you were on, that was definitely over a year ago.
Probably 2 years ago now. I think I was so Orlando real estate is crazy. And so I'd go from one rental house, they would jack up the rent. I'd go to another rental house, they'd jack up the rent, finally bought a house. So that's why I spent the money kind of, doing it up the way I always kind of dreamed of. But, that had to have been a year and a half, 2 years ago, because I remember doing that interview 2 houses ago now, I think.
Okay. So, well, cool, man. We'll make sure that not that much time passes for the next one. If you will come back and join us, I would appreciate it. Shout out to everybody that joined us. If you're new, all you need to do is text MEC to our number below, 844-206-7800. We won't abuse the text. We'll send you a text before we go live, just to remind you guys, because from my experience, artists need a lot of reminders. So cool. All right, and follow Adam. He's everywhere at Adam Ivy, right?
That's it, man. Instagram, Adam Ivy, AdamIvy.com. Yeah.
Cool.
Come follow me.
All right, we're out. Peace.
Appreciate the opportunity, guys. See ya.